Rylan was out cold for a full day, forced to miss the signing ceremony. He didn't just lose the investment deal. His reputation, built over years, was shot to hell. His assistant, Marcus Ashe, seized the opportunity, became an overnight industry darling, and was suddenly raking in a seven-figure salary. He confronted his fiancée, Anya, but she was utterly unconcerned. "You're so capable, Rylan. What's the big deal giving him one project? If you hadn't been so damn petty and kept refusing," she added, "would I have had to go to the trouble of drugging you?" She was right. He was that capable. Why keep banging his head against this particular brick wall? He gave up the project and the woman. Suddenly, she was the one panicking. When he got to the office, Anya Hayes and Marcus Ashe were popping champagne, with the crowd celebrating. Many of his team members, people he'd grinded with for years, sat silently in a corner, their faces etched with resentment and frustration. "Mr. Volkov," one of them finally burst out, "you nearly killed yourself for this project over the last year. You were in and out of the hospital 5 or 6 times, and at the last minute, Marcus Ashe steals it. Then he tells the investors you ghosted them because you wanted to tank the deal. He totally threw you under the bus. Everyone knows your skills and integrity. 80% of this company's profitable projects came from your connections. Others might not know, but Ms. Hayes certainly does. Didn't she say anything to defend you?" His voice grew louder, drawing attention. Anya's gaze finally shifted from Marcus's face to Rylan's, her expression hardening. "You disappeared without a word," she said coolly. Marcus stepped up, saved the deal, and got the contract signed. "Instead of being grateful, you're here stirring up your old team and trying to ruin the celebration. Does this company only function if you're the one signing deals? Is no one else qualified? You really think too highly of yourself, Rylan." Not a hint of guilt in her voice. When the company was just starting, it was only the two of them. He wore all the hats: admin, driver, sales, you name it. He even took care of her personal life. Time and again, when he brought in huge projects and new investors, she'd wrap her arms around his neck, purring, "This company would be nothing without you, Rylan. When we make it big, you'll be my star partner, and no one will ever mess with you." But now, not only had she backstabbed him for another man, but she was publicly mocking him for having an ego. The looks from the crowd were a mixture of pity and morbid curiosity. They probably expected him to lose it, to start a massive scene. After all, this wasn't the first time Anya had handed one of his nearly completed projects to Marcus. Each time, he'd fought tooth and nail. It was less about the project and more about fighting for Anya's heart, which had clearly strayed. The worst fight led to him threatening to quit, but in the end, he couldn't bring himself to leave. He backed out, but all his devotion had earned him was her trampling his dignity even more brazenly. This particular project meant the world to him, but suddenly, he didn't want to fight anymore. "Ms. Hayes is right," he said, his voice even. "I'm resigning." He went to his office, printed out his resignation letter, signed it, and handed it to her. When she read it, the arrogance on her face froze. She crumpled the paper into a ball and threw it at him. "Fine, Rylan, go all out with your little drama. Let's see how long this tough guy act lasts." He calmly started packing his personal belongings into a box. "It doesn't matter if you won't sign it, Ms. Hayes. Per my contract, I'll be gone in 30 days anyway." Ignoring her stunned expression, he turned and walked out. Back in his apartment, he organized and archived all the projects he'd handled over the years, then sent the files to an overseas contact. Moments later, his phone rang. "Mr. Volkov," a voice said, "you really didn't need to send the files. The projects you've developed over the years are all unicorns in their respective fields, valued at over $1 billion each. Your name is already legendary among Wall Street's top VC firms. But the last time we spoke," the voice continued, "you declined all offers, saying your wedding was just around the corner." Staring out the window at the city lights, a bitter smile touched his lips. "The wedding's off. Please connect me with interested firms as soon as possible." "Connect you with what firms? Weren't you just throwing a tantrum about quitting? Now you're desperate for a new project to impress me." Anya pushed open his apartment door, kicked off her heels, and scoffed. He didn't respond. Normally, she'd fly off the handle about his attitude, but this time, she visibly suppressed her anger. "You wanted to use the AI project to digitize human memories, developing companion robots with the memories of loved ones. But Marcus suggested focusing on the gaming. I think the profits will be higher. I wasn't playing favorites. She paused, a flicker of something like pain in her eyes. I know your mother's death hit you hard, but she's gone, Rylan. The person you're supposed to spend your life with is me. Stop being so stubborn. She knew exactly what this project meant to him, and still, she chose to betray him in the most extreme way. He nodded slightly. You're right. The person you choose to spend your life with should indeed be chosen carefully. She, however, thought he was caving again. A smile spread across her face as she walked into the bathroom. Anya's phone buzzed incessantly. He glanced at the caller ID. Mr. Zatov, a CEO they'd worked with before, and picked it up. After a few hellos from his end, the line went silent for a few seconds, then the caller hung up abruptly. Mr. Zatov called, he said, handing the phone to Anya as she emerged, towel in her hair. He didn't say anything specific, did he? I mean, was it urgent? Just some more stuff, she said vaguely, then grabbed her car keys. This Mr. Zatov is so demanding. Says there's another sudden issue with the project. I have to go deal with it. Even if he'd been slow on the uptake before, something felt seriously wrong now. He quietly tailed her car. The route became increasingly familiar, finally stopping at the entrance to the community where our marital home, the house they'd bought together, was located. She'd never shown any interest in the renovations, nor did she know he'd installed security cameras. He pulled up the feed on his phone. His stomach dropped. Marcus Ash had his hands on her waist, giving her a playful squeeze. You drugged Rylan Volkov to help me snag his project. Aren't you going to go home and smooth things over with him tonight? Anya leaned against the kitchen counter, her tone light and dismissive. He'd never leave me. This company is his baby. Besides, she continued, not long after we started dating, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. My own parents gave up on me, but he borrowed millions, took me to every specialist he could find. He worked 4 jobs a day, lived on cheap ramen and tap water, slept on the floor in hospital hallways. At night, he loves me more than life itself. Even if he walked in and saw us together right now, he'd just grit his teeth and swallow it. Marcus's mocking laughter grated into his ears. He smashed his fist into his phone screen. Sharp fragments of glass and metal dug into his fingers, blood welling, but doing nothing to dull the crushing ache in his chest. Anya had changed Marcus's contact name in her phone to Mr. Zatov. For the past 6 months, she'd used Mr. Zatov as an excuse for late nights at the office or some business trips. He'd always assumed Mr. Zatov was the female executive they'd previously partnered with, so he never suspected a thing. All the resentment and confusion he'd felt now had an answer. She had completely betrayed him. That's why she was always making excuses to train the new guy, handing his resources to the utterly incompetent Marcus, even resorting to drugging him with sleeping pills when he repeatedly refused. He smoked an entire pack of cigarettes and still couldn't figure out where he'd gone so wrong. Grinding the butt under his heel, he looked up. Anya stood before him, panic in her eyes, her throat seemingly constricted, unable to utter a word. It was Marcus, standing beside her, who broke the silence with a smug, insincere smile. Anya helped me land a huge project today. A guy's got to show his gratitude, right? She said a pipe burst in your new house tonight and asked me to come take a look. Don't get any wrong ideas, Mr. Volkov. He deliberately emphasized the word project, his arrogance blatant. The subtext was, I snap my fingers, and your fiancé steals your deal for me. Then I get to sleep with her in the house you bought together. Anya grew more flustered, tugging at Marcus's sleeve, silently urging him to shut up. She forced a smile, stammering, I finished up with Mr. Zatov, and then building management called about a burst pipe. I figured you were in a bad mood today, so I asked Marcus to. Her face was a mask of disbelief. After a long moment of tense silence, she finally asked, her voice trembling, Rylan, I'm here with Marcus in the middle of the night, and you're not angry? Before, when he'd seen Marcus merely brush her waist, he'd flown into a rage, nearly breaking his hand in the ensuing fight. Now, the thought just made him feel like he'd dirted his own hands. His voice was calm. He came all this way to help you so late. I'm very grateful to him. Grateful that he'd finally extinguished the last ember of love he had for her. Anger flared in Anya's eyes. She bit her lip, silent, then spoke again, her tone testing. Marcus signed a big deal. As his boss, I'm taking him on a celebratory vacation for a few days. I assume you won't mind. He nodded slightly. You should. Fine, Rylan Volkov. Let's see how long you can keep up this act. She was shaking with rage, and she shoved him hard. His hand slammed against the car door, the metal shards still embedded in his skin piercing deeper. He let out a muffled grunt of pain. She was only holding back from a full-blown confrontation because he was a founding partner and she didn't want to openly burn that bridge. Now that he was willingly stepping aside, why was she angrier? But her thoughts no longer mattered to him. A recruiter quickly placed him with a top-tier Wall Street venture capital firm. This company was a powerhouse. Many employees held founder shares in giants like Google and Microsoft, earning them millions in dividends annually even if they didn't lift a finger. Looking through their past investments, he couldn't help but regret all the life-changing opportunities he'd missed by prioritizing Anya. Fortunately, it wasn't too late. As he was booking his flight to the U.S., Anya, who rarely updated her social media, posted several videos in an ocean view suite. She, who had never cooked for him, was wearing an apron stirring a simple broth. Marcus was drunk, puking everywhere. She showed no disgust, patiently wiping him clean, helping him sit up, and tenderly feeding him the broth, her eyes filled with a softness he'd never seen directed at him. When he used to run projects, he often had unavoidable work dinners that involved heavy drinking. Every time he came home drunk, she'd look at him with utter revulsion, slam the bedroom door shut, "Get out. You're disgusting," and leave him to pass out on the cold floor. Even if he woke up the next day with a high fever, weak and aching, she wouldn't even pour him a glass of water. A bitter laugh escaped him. "Rylan, you should have woken up a long time ago." He was about to swipe off the screen when he accidentally liked one of her posts. Not wanting any unnecessary drama, he immediately unliked it. And while he was at it, unpinned her chat from the top of his messages. The next second, Anya called, her voice dripping with unconcealed triumph. "Weren't you playing the magnanimous one earlier? Turns out you're still secretly stalking my updates. Seeing me take care of another man. You must be green with jealousy, about to lose your mind, right?" The old him, fiercely possessive of her, would have been, but now he felt nothing but calm. He had a mountain of project files to sort through and no time for such childish games. He was about to bring up canceling the wedding when she cut him off impatiently. "All right, I know you've been looking forward to the wedding. You put a lot of effort into it these past few months. Tomorrow, for PM, I'm giving you a chance to pick me up at the airport. We can go for the wedding dress fitting afterward." Before he could answer, the line went dead. 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon was precisely when his flight to the States was scheduled to depart. The next morning, after packing his bags, he took one last look at the home he'd poured years of his life into, then gently closed the door. A black Maybach was parked by the curb. A young woman, as graceful as a deer, waved at him, her smile revealing charmingly asymmetrical dimples. "Mr. Volkov, I'm Alara Sweetwater, the assistant assigned to you by Her Corp. I'll be accompanying you to the U.S. I've carefully reviewed your profile," she continued, "and I'm particularly interested in your companion robot concept. If it can truly be developed, it could offer solace to so many people who have lost loved ones. Your project in this country was unfortunately halted, but I've already started reaching out to tech companies in the States on your behalf." He was genuinely touched. A complete stranger could empathize with his vision, while Anya, the woman he'd spent years with, had personally destroyed it. "Mr. Volkov," Alara added, "some of the investors you've worked with, upon hearing you were leaving, contacted me privately. They mentioned wanting to withdraw their funding from your ex-fiancée's current ventures and explore overseas markets instead." When he didn't respond, she pressed her lips together and said no more. At the airport, Alara went ahead to handle the check-in procedures while he stood in a quiet corner smoking. Not far off, Anya had her arms wrapped around Marcus's neck, kissing him passionately. "Anya, honey," Marcus murmured, loud enough for anyone nearby to hear. "We burned through 8 boxes of those strawberry things you like so much this trip. When we get back to the office, you'd better secure me a few more big projects to make up for all that effort." Anya playfully swatted his arm. "When Rylan gets here, don't you dare say stupid stuff like you did that night. The wedding's right around the corner. I don't want any trouble, so don't come bothering me at night for a while." She then glanced around a little distractedly, as if searching for him. He'd intended to leave quietly, but Alara hurried back, holding a few documents. "Mr. Volkov, all set. Anya heard her and looked in his direction. A flash of panic crossed her eyes, quickly replaced by composure as her face hardened. What took you so long? Do you know how long I've been waiting? Even a simple task like picking me up, you managed to piss me off. She frowned, her gaze shifting suspiciously to his assistant. Who is this woman? She looked annoyed, about to say more, when suddenly a car careened out of control, heading straight for the crowd. People screamed, scattering in panic. On pure instinct, he grabbed Alara and pulled her towards safety. Are you okay? He asked Alara once they were clear. I'm fine, Mr. Volkov, but Ms. Hayes seems to be crying. Anya crying? Impossible. In all these years, apart from when the pain of her cancer became unbearable, he'd hardly ever seen her shed a tear. He turned. She wasn't injured. There wasn't even a speck of dust on her. She was staring at him, her face contorted with fury, tears streaming down like broken pearls. Rylan Volkov, that car was coming right for us, and you protected some irrelevant assistant. You didn't care if I lived or died. Are you insane? When he didn't answer, she completely lost it. Always so cool and reserved in public, she now disregarded the stares of onlookers, screaming at him hysterically. Are you mute? Say something. Who the hell is this woman? On what grounds did you hire a female assistant without my permission? We're about to get married. How could you be so inappropriate with a female employee? Have you even considered my feelings? Now fire her immediately. Tell her to get lost. Otherwise, I'm canceling the wedding, and I'll never forgive you. So, it's only when a needle pricks your own skin that you realize how much it hurts. He too had once been hysterical like this, upset about her crossing lines with Marcus. She'd always dismissed him with a contemptuous, I can't be bothered with this. If you can't handle it, let's break up. But he could never bear to. He was always the first to back down, to coax and plead, even to kneel and beg her not to leave. His brief silence now must have made her think he was scared again. Her demeanor gradually calmed, her eyes regaining their usual arrogance, certain he would cave, retreat, and beg as before. I know marrying me has been your dream for 7 years. You spent a whole year planning this wedding. As long as you fire her right now, I can consider not. Before she could finish, he cut her off coldly. No, I agree. Let's cancel the wedding. She froze, staring at him as if he were a stranger. It wasn't until the piercing wail of sirens from police cars and an ambulance cut through the air that she seemed to snap back. Her voice a faint whisper, as if uttering the words drained all her strength. Rylan Volkov, I said cancel the wedding. Canceling the wedding means breaking up. You want to break up with me? He passively fiddled with his watch, his voice soft but his gaze firm. Yes, break up. Anya remained rooted to the spot, tears flowing silently but more profusely. Beside her, however, a flicker of delight crossed Marcus's face. He tried to comfort Anya, but she violently slapped his outstretched hand away. Get lost. This was the first time he'd ever seen Anya treat Marcus with such coldness in his presence. Clearly, Marcus was equally taken aback, his hand hovering awkwardly in midair. Anya took a few deep breaths, her tone moderating. You go back to the office first. Marcus shot him a resentful glare before reluctantly walking away, looking back every few steps. Rylan, let's talk. Maybe there's some misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Perhaps in her eyes, no matter what she did, he was supposed to remain the man who loved her to death. When she was terminally ill, he'd unhesitatingly shouldered massive debt, scrimped and saved, worked multiple jobs, so stressed that even in his dreams he was being chased by creditors, cornered in alleys, and beaten up. But back then, he didn't feel any bitterness. As long as she could live, he would have willingly given his own life. Later, she recovered and promised she'd never betray him. They started their business together, building it from a 2-person studio into a company with hundreds of employees. The hardships during that time were immense, but most of the time, he couldn't bear to see her suffer, so he handled most of the dirty, tiring work. He was out pounding the pavement every day when he had no reputation. People looked down on him, slammed doors in his face in the freezing winter and scorching summer, sneering, "Does any Tom, Dick, or Harry think they can just book a meeting with our boss? Take a look in the mirror before you waste our time. Get lost." But every night when he came home and she'd wrap her arms around his neck, cooing about their future, he felt it was all worth it. But what did loving someone so wholeheartedly get him? It got him her fooling around with another man, while still being able to mock him to his face for being a fool who'd give her everything. It got him her knowing full well how devastated he was by his mother's accidental death, how he struggled to move on, how all his hopes were pinned on that one project, and still, to please Marcus, she resorted to such despicable tactics, forcing him to lose the project that was on the verge of success, personally shattering his hopes. What was even more laughable was that after doing all this, she actually thought their relationship reaching this point was all just a misunderstanding. Rylan, are you listening to me? Can we find a place to talk properly first? I was a bit emotional just now, but that's because I was jealous. No woman can watch the man she loves choose another woman in a life-or-death moment and just act like nothing happened. When he didn't respond for a long time, Anya anxiously stepped forward and grabbed his arm. He let out a cold laugh. It had been a long time since he'd heard Anya so openly express her concern for him. Most of the time, her attitude wavered between him and Marcus, leaving him completely insecure in this relationship. He doubted himself, been jealous of others to the point of frantic questioning. Thinking about it now, he just felt utterly fed up. There's nothing to talk about, Anya. We're completely finished. No one is stupid enough to keep pouring everything into a one-sided relationship endlessly without any reciprocation. A one-sided relationship, Anya murmured, her expression blank. Suddenly, she seemed to realize something. Her fair face slowly flushed crimson, her eyes filled with guilt. I don't want to spell it out. A breakup between adults should be dignified, for both our sakes. Excuse me, Mr. Volkov, Ilera, his assistant, reminded him softly from the side, looking troubled. The plane is about to take off. We should get going. Take off? Rylan, where are you going? Weren't you here to pick me up? Anya jolted as if awakened, questioning him repeatedly. He didn't want to get further entangled with her. Without responding, he turned and started walking away with Ilera, not looking back. But she relentlessly pursued him, grabbing his wrist in a death grip. Where on earth are you going? We're about to get married. Her suspicious, wary gaze darted constantly over Ilera. Suddenly, comprehension dawned, and her voice shot up several octaves. Rylan Volkov, you cheated on me. You're breaking up with me for this woman, and you're leaving with her. No, that's not right. You couldn't have changed your mind about me. It must be this shameless woman who seduced you, right? She suddenly lunged at Ilera like a mad woman, grabbing her hair and slapping her hard across the face. How dare you seduce my boyfriend? Who do you think you are? Ilera had grown up overseas, from a wealthy family, and had never encountered such a situation. For a moment, she was too stunned to even react. Anya, are you insane? Let her go now. The moment he saw Ilera get hit, all the blood rushed to his head. Enraged, he shoved Anya away and pulled Ilera behind him. Ilera's hair was disheveled, her fair skin was red and swollen, and 2 bloody scratches from sharp nails marred her cheek. She looked dazed, as if she hadn't yet processed what had happened. Only when she heard his concerned voice did she burst into tears. Rylan Volkov, you hit me for this woman, and you still say there's nothing between you two? You did this on purpose, didn't you? Just because I took Marcus on a trip for a few days, you found some random woman to get back at me, to provoke me into backing down and begging for your forgiveness, didn't you? Anya shrieked, having stumbled to the ground, clutching her scraped elbow, tears streaming down her face. Airport security guards rushed over, pulling them into a room for questioning and mediation. After all the commotion, they'd missed their flight. He had no choice but to explain the situation to HerCorp and request a delayed start date. Fortunately, Ilera Sweetwater was very understanding. She didn't make him reveal the whole truth, saying it would reflect badly on him. Instead, she suggested he tell them she'd suddenly fallen ill, hence the travel delay. Ilera, thank you, he said gratefully, taking her to the hospital. You've been put through so much because of me, and you still helped me out of that mess. Her wounds needed immediate attention. It would be terrible if they scarred. It's all right, Mr. Volkov. I've reviewed your past record, and I trust your character. This wasn't entirely your fault. From his and the police's questioning records, Anya probably gathered that he was planning to move to the U.S. for work and that Ilera was genuinely just his new assistant. She became unusually silent, clearly aware she was in the wrong, and didn't dare say much more, just quietly followed him. Even when he refused her offer to accompany them to the hospital, she still drove her car behind his, standing outside the clinic room with a complicated expression, lost in thought. When she returned, she was carrying some pastries popular with women, offering them to Alara as an apology. "I'm sorry, I was too impulsive earlier. I didn't get the facts straight before I hurt you. As women, I believe you can understand. My boyfriend and I are getting married in a few days, and you're welcome to come." Hearing that last sentence, he genuinely doubted his ears. After everything that had happened, she still thought their wedding could proceed as planned? Impatiently, he pressed his fingers to his temples and cut her off bluntly. "Anya, are you incapable of understanding plain English? We've broken up. What wedding are you talking about? You heard me earlier. I'm moving to the US to start a new job. From now on, we go our separate ways. Can you please stop clinging to me like a damn leech?" In all their years together, this was the first time he'd spoken to Anya so harshly. No matter how angry he'd been in the past, he'd always left her some dignity, never resorting to cruel words. After all, if he so much as raised his voice, she'd furiously demand if he'd stopped loving her, why he was being so mean. Over time, he'd grown accustomed to treading carefully around her, speaking softly. But now, Anya acted as if she hadn't heard a word. She put on a smile, her tone wheedling. "All right, Rylan. I know you're still jealous about me going on that trip with Marcus and angry about the project thing. I was wrong, okay? I've apologized. Let's just put it behind us. The custom wedding dress and suit have arrived. Let's go try them on." Worried she'd have another emotional outburst and cause more trouble, he reluctantly agreed to leave with her for the time being. "I knew you wouldn't stay truly angry with me," she chirped. All the way there, she drove and chatted incessantly about her past. He hadn't seen her this talkative, this eager to share, in a very long time. Usually, he was the one rambling, sending countless photos and videos, enthusiastically planning outings, but every time he eagerly presented his plans to her, she wouldn't even spare them a glance. "Boring, don't bother me. That's too childish. Can't you act your age? Instead of wasting time on useless things, you should be thinking about how to make more money for the company." Or it would be long stretches of silence to the point where their chat history often felt like a one-way street. Messages he sent in the morning would either be answered late at night, or perhaps the next day when she needed something from him, with a perfunctory few words, or simply ignored. Thinking of this, he ignored her frequent pleading glances and just stared out the car window. Even when she stood before him, surrounded by store assistants, wearing a voluminous, pristine white wedding gown, he felt nothing. She'd been right before, for 7 years. He had indeed dreamed of marrying her. He'd imagined her as his bride countless times, fantasized about the moment she'd put on her wedding dress. But now, all he felt was an endless, profound disgust. The memory of her and Marcus together that night made him want to gag. "Rylan, are you okay? I'll take you home to rest," she said, her expression anxious as she quickly changed out of the wedding dress and rushed me home. Perhaps it was the recent series of upheavals combined with the stress of starting a new job, but when he got home, he started running a low fever. Anya bustled around, helping him change into pajamas, and even cooked a large meal of all his favorite dishes, presenting them to him solicitously, trying to mend their fractured relationship. After all, this was the first time she had ever personally taken care of him. But it was too late. He gently pushed away the food she offered, his voice ice cold. "Anya, you don't have to do this. How many more times do I have to say it? We are completely, irrevocably over." She froze, her head bowed, thick lashes hiding the emotion in her eyes, her shoulders trembling slightly. Soft sobs echoed in the deathly quiet room. After a long standoff, receiving no comfort from him, she suddenly slammed the plate of food onto the floor, her eyes bloodshot as she roared at him. "What more do you want? Do you want me to kneel down and beg you? Why can't we just part amicably? Why do you have to be so damned persistent, dragging this out and making it ugly for everyone?" "Anya," he said, his voice devoid of warmth, "you don't love me. You're acting like this simply because you're not used to it. The person who always kowtowed to you has suddenly changed. Stop putting you on a pedestal. That's all." She stopped crying, looking at him blankly, mulling over his words. After a long pause, she shook her head gently. "No, it's not like that. I know maybe after Marcus joined the company, I spent a lot of time training him and neglected your feelings, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. After all, she continued, her voice earnest, no one in this world has ever been better to me than you. When I was terminally ill, even my own parents abandoned me. You were the one who stayed by my side, never giving up, enduring so much hardship to pay off those debts. Then you helped me build this company from scratch. To be honest, this company is basically yours. I hardly did anything. Even if I gave the project to Marcus, as long as it makes money, it ultimately ends up in your pocket anyway. Why do you have to keep harping on this one thing and say I don't love you? A cold laugh escaped him. So she remembered every single detail, yet she still chose to stab him in the back. And even now, she arrogantly believed she'd done nothing wrong. The only reason she was clinging on was that she couldn't find another obedient doormat to be her free caretaker and moneymaker. He didn't want to waste any more words on her. He pulled up the security footage from that night and thrust his phone in her face. The vile sounds filled the room. He'd never leave me. This company is his baby. Besides, not long after we started dating, I was diagnosed with stomach cancer. My own parents gave up on me, but he borrowed millions, took me to every specialist he could find. He worked 4 jobs a day, lived on cheap ramen and tap water, slept on the floor in hospital hallways. At night, he loves me more than life itself. Even if he walked in and saw us together right now, he'd just grit his teeth and swallow it. Anya's face turned deathly pale. Panicked, she snatched the phone and smashed it violently onto the floor, as if that could erase what had happened. She dropped to her knees before him with a thud, slapping herself hard across the face twice. Her fair cheeks instantly turned red and swollen. The slaps seemed to come faster than any words of defense. For a moment, she didn't know what to say, just clutched her face in agony, endlessly murmuring apologies. It's come to this. There's nothing more to say. Let's just leave it. Don't bother me again. You truly disgust me. Anya looked up, her eyes filled with utter despair. A piercing wail escaped her as she clutched at his legs. Don't go, Rylan. I'm begging you. It's all my fault. I was out of my mind. Hit me. Take out your anger on me. Please, just forgive me this one time. I really can't live without you. He sneered, gripping her chin and raised his hand, slapping her hard across the face. That's for Alara, Anya. You've been a selfish person from start to finish. When I was good to you, you didn't cherish it and fooled around with other men. Alara is just my assistant. Nothing happened between us. You couldn't even stand seeing her next to me. So when you were sleeping with Marcus, did you ever for a single moment consider how heartbroken I would be? Even now, after all this, you're still only thinking about yourself. You're a tainted woman, yet you still delusionally think you can hijack my entire life. Disgust me for the rest of my years, and you want me to forgive you? Do you even deserve it? Cheat on me once, and we're done for good. Even if you broke up with Marcus, who knows whose bed you'd crawl in next? Some Tom, Dick, or Harry? Do you want me to spend the rest of my life in suspicion and torment? Anya, the biggest regret of my life is saving you back then. You should have died that year. Then you wouldn't be around to ruin other people's lives. The light in Anya's eyes gradually dimmed. Her grip on his legs loosened, and she slumped to the floor like a soulless rag doll, staring blankly as he walked away. Not long after he left, Marcus Ashe rushed frantically to find Anya. Anya, quick, help me. The project. There's a problem. You told me to cozy up to Ryland's old investors and contacts to completely take over his network. Someone filmed me taking bribes, and now they're going to call the cops on me. This was all your idea. You can't just leave me hanging. Anya slowly came to, looking at Marcus's panicked face. Suddenly, she laughed to think she had, for this worthless piece of trash, completely shattered the heart of the man who truly loved her, all for a fleeting desire. Now everything was over. Anya, what's wrong with you? Don't bail on me now. Quickly think of a way to fix this. It's all your fault. Anya shrieked. If you hadn't seduced me, how could I have gone so wrong again and again, hurting Rylan, making him stop loving me? How could I have fallen for a useless loser like you? Ignoring Marcus's screams and pleas for mercy, she vented all her inner fury, stabbing him again and again. When the police arrived to arrest her, she was still staring at her blood-soaked hands, letting out an eerie, chilling laugh. If he dies, I'll be clean. Rylan will forgive me. He'll come back to me. We're getting married soon. I'm going to be a bride, and then I'll have his adorable babies. The police snapped cold handcuffs on her wrists. She struggled desperately, but it was no use. Let me go? Why do you have to arrest me? I need to find Rylan. He's my husband. He returned to the hospital and picked up Alara Sweetwater. Fortunately, the doctor said her wounds were superficial and wouldn't scar if cared for properly. They rebooked their flights and flew to the United States. On the way to the airport, a news report came on a car radio. A violent crime occurred in the Willow Creek Estates on the east side of town. The deceased is a young man surnamed Asher. The suspect is a young woman, apparently suffering from mental breakdown. The motive is currently under investigation. Alara stared at him, shocked, stammering in fear. Mr. Volkov, isn't that where your old house is? Could the two people they're talking about be? He silently turned off the news report, offering no answer. Things escalating to this point was not what he had wished for, but they had brought it all upon themselves. It had nothing to do with him. You reap what you sow. He successfully started his new job in America. The firm was very supportive of his proposal to invest in the companion robot project. They believe that people are increasingly willing to pay for emotional value and that this market had huge potential. 3 years later, the product he invested in finally launched. These robots could not only have their appearance custom designed according to client requirements, but their programming could also be infused with digitized content such as videos, voice recordings, photos, and text messages. In essence, these robots allowed deceased loved ones to be reborn in another form to continue accompanying their clients. Many people struggling in the shadows of grief rushed to purchase them. Several customers even managed to find his contact information and sent numerous emails expressing their gratitude. If it weren't for these robots, they said, they might have chosen to end their lives through extreme measures, worn down by day after day of psychological torment. Closing his laptop, he gazed out at the lush green lawn beyond his window and smiled faintly.